Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In Islam, we are generally discouraged to have anything as a celebration other than the days specified by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, if one takes it as general permissibility concept, then one may argue that there's nothing prohibiting such gatherings. So shouldn't it be permissible as a default position? And there is some truth in that, but not the whole truth, especially in the modern time, in the current time when education level and understanding of people about deen is so patchy and weak that when they start doing something which is just permissible at the most, they become part of their aqidah even, and they start distinguishing between true us and them, true Muslim and non, or Ahl Sunnah or not, true followers and believer in Allah and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and not, based on those at the most permissible, not the best one, not done by Allah and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as an instruction, not made an obligation or even sunnah, not done by the pious predecessors, first three generations, and yet it becomes so much of a practice that people would take it to mean that, you know what, this is our way, this is our icon, this is our representation, this is how we associate ourselves and identify ourselves as a group. And this tahazzub, or the group mentality, then cause Muslims to have tafarruqah, distinction in sects and groups, based on something which at the most is permissible, never recommended, never sunnah, never mustahab. And if you take the careful opinion, then it is bid'ah to initiate anything new. Now, people do celebrate certain other things. That does not come in the ambit of doing religious practices. So there are two categories: certain practices which are done for the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which are part and parcel of Islam, which are part of our general shari'i rituals, some practices. When we do something in those lines, then we are hoping to get reward. We're getting some closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, making it part of deen, which is an addition to the deen. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam categorically mentioned in more than one hadith that man ahdatha fi amrina ma laysa minhu fahuwa radd. Whatever is not from the part of deen will be rejected. It's innovation, it's addition, and there's wisdom behind it. If you do not let Islam be, or the practices of Islam be very seal proof, very tight, like, you know, foolproof or leak proof, and it's quite sealed, so that you do not add anything or subtract anything, then it will become a plaything. Everyone would come and extend the boundaries, and there will be people come to reduce it further. So there will be ifrat and tafreed. There will be increasing in certain actions and reducing or, you know, decreasing certain things from deen. So increasing is called ifrat, and tafreed is when you lessen it, reduce it. To increase would amount to bid'ah, innovations, and to reduce would lead to ilhad, and both are problematic. It has to be the middle ground, ummati wasat. We should be aiming to be in the center, following the footsteps of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then Sahaba, and then their followers, their students, and then their students, all the way up to now. That's the line that we follow, and we try to stay as close as possible. And then obviously a little bit leeway there, but as close as possible, inshallah ta'ala, would be more beneficial. Now, as I said, the problem is many common people, when they are given allowance for certain activities in the name of religion, in the name of some permissible action, it has become so much ingrained in their lives. They've seen it from their parents, grandparents, extended family, even the community, even the masjid and the imams, that if you do not organize such gathering, I'll give you a very simple example. Dua collectively after fard prayer, it has become so much of a common thing in Southeast Asian culture, in Arab culture as well, but more so in Southeast Asian countries, where it was only considered permissible in order to teach common men how to make dua. And that was the reason for allowing it. And there is a possibility of it being okay, and it is okay. There's no doubt about that. So something which is mubah, which is okay to carry on. Collective dua in order to teach people. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has done collective dua, but not after prayers. It is not proven that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam ever did collective dua after fard prayers. But he has done collective prayers other times, at other times. Now, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam also mentioned about the du'as being accepted at certain times, one being after prayer. So you put them two together, it's okay. So that is why all four Sunni schools would permit it, especially if there's a reason. Reason being, teaching common men how to learn, how to do dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, learn certain formulae, certain du'as from Quran and Sunnah, especially when there is a lot of ignorance about these things and people cannot even read or write properly, some of the common people in the villages. So yes, there is a leeway for that. Then what happened? It happened in the last 50, 70, 80 years. We've seen it so often, recurrently done in all masajid. Now if you don't practice this, people say, oh, you have not done justice, you have not done prayer, you have not done this or that. And people say, oh, what is this? People think that this is now a part of the prayer. If you haven't done it, you have not completed the dua. And they actually get very upset about it, that you have caused trouble to their prayer. Now it becomes bid'ah, because you're now including it into the practice. You have made it part of the prayer. You have made it part of deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have collective dua after prayer. So whereas something which was permissible becomes innovation. Why? Because we made it so much of an important thing. Likewise, gathering on 30 days, 3 days, 10 days, even 40 days, a year, every year. And this is all done in order to donate some reward to the deceased people. Now it has become a practice which identifies individual as Ahl Sunnah or not Ahl Sunnah, Muslim or Ghair Muslim. I mean, this is crazy. Now it becomes bid'ah, because you emphasize on something which was not part of deen and you made it into deen, and you started distinguishing people based on this. Now people may say, well, what about the national days for the country, for other reasons? Now again, if they are done with the intention of getting reward, coming near Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's not right. You cannot celebrate any day, be it your country day or your city day or your anniversary of any sort, with the intention that you're coming close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That would become a bid'ah. But people do it for other reasons, just to unite people, keep them together, so that people are working in harmony. There's some unifying practices, some reasons to keep the fellow men, keep the citizens of a country, the subjects of the country, gel together. And obviously that is a meritorious action based on that. So whatever it would take, one can do it. So you would find certain people organize these gatherings on special days of the country, the what you call Independence Day, the Foundation Day, the certain other days which are special, but they do not consider it to be a religious practice. Otherwise, it would become innovation. You're adding something to deen. I hope it clarifies. So, on one hand, these practices generally are discouraged. We can do certain things as long as we do not make it part of deen. Some mubahas and permissibility things might be done with the caveat that it is not being seen as the very important thing, and people who do not do it should not be censured for it. But since we see it, it is highly unlikely that people wouldn't do it. People are just very much a binary mentality people these days. They have either yes or no, this or that. They can't have any nuanced discussion or understanding. So we should be very careful about these matters and stay away. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Don't do it. Why doing it? Even if it's permissible, so why? Should we do all the permissible things? Obviously not. There are many permissible things we shouldn't be doing, especially when there's a fear that it may lead up to something bad. Or to block the means. May Allah give us tawfiq to understand.